प्राणस्येदं वशे सर्वं त्रिदिवे यत् प्रतिष्ठितं मातेव पुत्रान् रक्षस्व श्रीश्च प्रज्ञांश्च विदेहि नैति ॐ शान्तिः शान्ति शान्तिः.
You have to unmute, Gagana.
Good evening. My name is Gagana, and on behalf of Yoga Vijnana Foundation, I extend a hearty welcome to all those present here for Pranam Brahman Talk series. We are delighted to have Dr. Ananda Balayogi Bhavanani as our honorable guest speaker this evening, and look forward to enlightening session on the topic, enhancing our experience of Prana through Pranayama. But first, we would like to give a brief introduction about our center, the foundation, and the guest speaker of the day. Yoga Vijnana, the Center of Yoga, Therapy and Research, was started in December 2012 by Sri Vinay Sitaya, an ex-IT professional who left 12 plus years of corporate career with intention of bringing science and philosophy together and sharing the science of yoga to the common man in simplest way. At Yoga Vijnana, we believe in experiential journey towards one's spiritual growth, and so far over 2,000 practitioners from across the world have benefited from our various programs. Apart from regular classes that are conducted both at center and online for beginners and experienced practitioners, we do specialize in yoga therapy, conduct many in-depth yoga and health workshops for seekers of yoga teachers, meditations, yoga retreats, silent trek, etc. Yoga Vijnana Foundation is a non-profit organization under Yoga Vijnana, which has been set up with idea of making the society a better place through spreading the science of yoga. Three main categories of activities that we plan to undertake under foundation are spreading the knowledge of yoga, holistic education, yogic education. The main aim of the foundation is to make the knowledge of yoga and health accessible to as many people as possible, and intends to cover places such as orphanages, old age homes, etc. In accordance with vision of the foundation, we have now arranged for a series of talks called Pranam Brahman, meaning Pranam is Brahman. In this talk series, we will try to unlock the secrets of food, healthy eating from different perspectives. Let me now take the privilege of introducing Dr. Ananda Balayogi Bhavanani to you all. Dr. Ananda Balayogi Bhavanani is the Director of Center of Yoga Therapy Education and Research, Professor of Yoga Therapy at Sri Balaji Vidyapeeth University, Pondicherry, and currently is a member of numerous expert committees of Ministry of AYUSH. Being a classical Indian vocalist, a percussionist, a music composer, and a choreographer of Indian classical dance, his talents are boundless. He is recipient of Doctorate of Science in Yoga from SVYASA Yoga University and is also a recognized Ph.D. guide for yoga therapy. He is Gold Medallist in Medical Studies with postgraduate diploma in both family health as well as yoga. Also a fellow of Indian Academy of Yoga. He is the chairman of both International Center of Yoga Education and Research at Ananda Ashram, Pondicherry, and Yoganjali Natyalayam, the premier institute of yoga and Carnatic music and Bharatanatyam, Pondicherry. He is the first Indian to be recognized as at IAYT Certified Yoga Therapist by International Association of Yoga Therapists, USA. In addition, he is also the Honorary Advisor to International Association of Yoga Therapists, Australian Association of Yoga Therapists, World Yoga Foundation, and Gitananda Yoga Associations of worldwide. He authored 19 DVDs, 26 books, and 32 compilations on yoga. He has published more than 300 papers, compilations, and abstracts on yoga and on yoga research in national and international journals. He is also a major presenter at yoga conferences in the USA, UK, Europe, South Asia, Australia, and New Zealand. With this brief introduction, I want to welcome you all again to the talk and hand over to Dr. Ananda. Over to you, sir.
Namaste, Vanakkam, Swagatam, Bonjour, Buongiorno, Buonasera, Buonanotte, Kuya More, Boreda, Kiora, Salamat Pagi, Ayubovan, Ayushman Baba. A warm welcome to each and everyone who is part of this evening's coming together. I would like to request that the participants put on your videos when possible so that I know who I am talking to. If there are any reasons for not putting it on, such as being in uncomfortable situations, it's different. But I am a person who loves to know who I am addressing, and I thrive on the responses I see on screen. Because we are not in person, otherwise I would see all of you out there. So whenever possible, please keep your videos on, unless there's any compromising situation where you cannot. Let me begin by invoking the wonderful Guru Parampara that enables us to have this wonderful life-transforming teachings of yoga itself. Om. Yogena chittasya padena vacham malam sharirasya cha vaidyakena yopakarotam pravaram muninam padanjalim pranjaliranatosmi om tatparam paryaya vidmahe jnanalingeshwaraya dhimahi Tanno Guru Prachodayate Om Yoga Maharshi Dr. Swami Gitananda Giri Guru Maharaj Ki Jai Om Puduvai Kalaimamani Puduvai Shakti Yoga Charini Ammaji Meenakshi Devi Bhavanani Guru Mata Ki Jai Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha Hari Om. A warm welcome to each and everyone who is part of this Sangha today, coming together for a higher purpose. And the higher purpose is searching what Prana is all about. Pranam Brahma, no doubt about it. That Prana which is the cosmic self itself. And that Prana which is the life force, the catalyst, that which holds everything together. It is the cosmic glue that holds everything together, including us as a human being. And as long as prana is circulating in us as an individual, we are a living, thriving, flourishing human being. And the moment the prana leaves us, we become just the body. We all know that. When someone is alive, we give them all the degrees: doctor, yogacharya, director, professor, Maha Puba, Shri Shri, Gurudev, Guruji, all of this is there. The moment the prana leaves, the first question is, when will the body be brought home? When are they taking the body for cremation? Suddenly, the person is lost and just the body remains. That is the power of prana. That which enables the anatomical, structural existence to become functional and physiological. And the homeostatic balance comes into us because of prana. That prana which is the Mahaprana, the Mahaprana of the universe itself. That universal Mahaprana Some people call it Mukhya Prana also. That Mahaprana, it starts to become an individual Jiva Prana when we take the first breath of life. So when we come out of our mother's birth passage and the baby goes, ah! And it takes the first breath of life as the lungs are emptied of the fluid and the air comes into the lungs. And that prana comes with the breath into that individual, and suddenly that newborn baby is now an individual. An individual who cannot be divided further. Indivisible is equal to indivisible. Individual, indivisible. Till that moment, the baby was part of the mother's prana. The baby was part of the mother's prana, the maternal fetal unit, as we call it in modern medicine. But then with that first breath of life, that individual has become its own being. And that Mahaprana comes into the Jiva, and the Jiva Prana enables us to live as a human being. That Prana Shakti, we can consider Prana as our mother energy also. Because Prana is what gives us life. Who gives us life? Our mother. Matru Devo Baba, says our culture. The Matru Devo Baba. The mother, the maternal principle, is the first of the divinity. Then comes Pitru Devo Baba, Acharya Devo Baba, Atithi Devo Baba comes later. Indian culture has always put the maternal principle at the beginning. The first and foremost divine principle is Matru Devo Baba. Because that prana is our maternal energy. You know, in our body, we have energy. We all have energy, okay? Some have a bit more, some have a bit less. Some days it's a bit more dynamic, some days it's a bit more tamasic, some days it's a bit rajasic, and some days it's sattvic. You know, tamasic, rajasic, sattvic. You know, that is how the energy flows. But whether you have energy or not, how much your energy is manifesting or not, depends on your mitochondria in your cell. Every cell has the powerhouse of the cell. The powerhouse of the cell that creates the ATP to ADP and liberates energy for all your metabolic activities. The mitochondria. And you know what? I did all my medical training. They taught me all the boring stuff. Nobody taught me the interesting stuff. After becoming a doctor, I learned all the interesting stuff of medicine. I'm like, if you guys had taught me this in medical school, I would have been so happy. So I go out and share it with everybody. And you know what that most important teaching is? All your mitochondria is inherited from your mother, not your father. And this is why the maternal energy is Shakti. Om Shakti, Om Shakti, Om Shakti, Om. That energy of Shakti, Adipara Shakti, Adipara Shakti, that is the maternal energy. Right down into our mitochondria, which comes from the maternal genes, not the paternal genes. So whether you have energy or not, either thank your mother or blame her. All the energy is on that side. That is why I say prana is our divine mother. It is that universal energy that enables us to thrive. And that prana enables us to have a life. The first part of having a life is to stay alive. Staying alive is your survival. Abhinivesha, klesha in yoga. Staying alive is the first part of it. But staying alive, survival is only one part. It is fine when you are a snake. It is fine when you are an alligator. It is fine when you are a dolphin, a toad. It is fine when you are a beautiful peacock or a crow. But when you become a human being, you want to do something more than just survive. You want to have a life. And you want your life to be meaningful. And that is where the prana that is flowing We want to enhance the experience of prana. The prana is there. Even the lizard has prana. The lizard on your wall, yes, even if you don't like cockroaches, they also have prana. Even the cockroaches, even the mosquitoes have prana. But I hope that your prana will be at a much higher level than the mosquito prana. I hope that the prana in us will be of a higher quality. Because that is what makes us human. Human beings should have manush. Manushya has to have man. Manushya means they have manas. Without manas, you are not a manushya. You become an animal, a pashu. A pashu is fine. But if you want to be a manushya, a manav, then at that point, you need to develop your mind, manas. And you have to work into the buddhi. Buddhiman manushyeshu. You have to become like the Bhagavad Gita says. Buddhiman manushyeshu. You have to become that manushya who is endowed with buddhi. So your prana shakti has to move from a very, very basic level into a much higher dynamic level and then move into a sattvika level of prana. This is why the yogis devised so many pranayama techniques. Pranayama techniques were not developed to get more oxygen. Please throw that idea out of your head if you have it in your head in the first place. Pranayama techniques were not devised to get more oxygen. You say, sir, but this morning in a talk for Chhattisgarh Yoga Commission, you said by doing Pranava Pranayama, oxygen saturation level goes up in COVID patient. Yes, oxygen saturation will go up in COVID patient if you do proper Pranayama. But that is not the goal of Pranayama. That is the side benefit of Pranayama. We have to realize what is the goal of yoga and what are the side benefits of yoga. Modern medicine, every drug I give you as a modern medical doctor has an effect and also it has side effects. And most of the side effects are unpleasant, unwanted. But in yoga, you have side benefits, which are all positive spin-offs. You are not doing yoga for diabetes. You are not doing yoga for hypertension. You must do yoga for the sake of yoga and nothing else. You are doing yoga for the sake of yoga. Everything else is a positive side benefit. It is the spin-off of the yoga. Similarly, pranayama is to enhance our understanding of prana. Now, often you will find people talk about pranasya ayamaha pranayama. This is a common statement. The ayama of prana is pranayama. So people say, what is this ayama? They say it is expansion, it is elongation, extension. These are the type of translations we find. Ayama is the expansion, elongation, stretching of prana. Now, this is where I say that our translations have been very wrong. You know, when you do translations, you don't need linguistic experts. You need subject experts. And all our Indian cultural traditions in Sanskrita, in all the regional languages, be it Tamil, be it Kannada, be it Telugu, be it Marathi, be it Kashmiri, be it Bengali, these have to be translated by subject experts, not language experts. You know, if you look at the formula H2O, okay, we all know this. I take a very simple formula, H2O. Now, the moment you look at that, because you are trained in chemistry and you have some general knowledge, the moment I say H2O, you say, sir, that is water. Why do you know H2O is water? Because you have subject knowledge. Now, if you don't have subject knowledge and you look at H2O, you will translate H2O as only H2O. You will say H2O is a new word. And so then you will say A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T. You know, you'll start going from H to O. Because you have translated H to O as from the letter H to the letter O because you are a language expert. I'm giving you this ridiculous example. I love to give ridiculous examples to show how ridiculous we have been in translating our scriptures. Because the language expert says O, H2O. It means start with H, H-I-J-K-L-M-N-O. This is what they mean by H2O. No, H2O means water. This is why it is essential that we have a re-look at all our scriptural translations. When we say ayama is expansion, the question comes, we are expanding prana. We, me, I am going to expand prana by doing pranayama. Yama, prana is already expanded. Prana is already the cosmic catalyst. Prana is already every place. And me, this big, fat, bloated ego, I am going to expand prana. Imagine what an ego trip this is. By doing pranayama, I'm going to expand prana. Who are you to expand prana? Prana is already infinite. Prana is the energy of the cosmos. It's already infinite. Then you say, sir, then what is ayama? We are expanding our awareness of prana. We are not expanding prana. We are expanding our awareness. We are developing a greater awareness of what this prana is by performing the pranayama. And this is why I like to say, we need to relook how we perceive it. Even this word expanding. Okay, you do dirgha pranayama. So you breathe in and you breathe out. Yes, you are expanding. You're holding antara kumbhaka for 16 count, 32 count, 64 count. You're expanding. Okay. Then when you breathe out, what is happening? Where is the expansion? If it is only expansion, when you breathe out, what is happening? You are giving away all the prana. Where is the expansion then? When you do rapid breathing like Bastrika, where is the expansion then? See, this is why the word is not expansion, elongation. It is enhancement. We have to use a new word for ayama. It is the enhancement of the experience of prana through the process of pranayama. And this is what I wanted to share in this talk, that we need to understand that through the process of pranayama, pranasya ayama pranayama, we are expanding, enhancing our experiential awareness of prana itself. This is a very important part, and that is why the yogis have given so many practices. In our tradition, about 120 practices are there of pranayama. Why? To enhance our experience of prana. So many ways to experience it. And the four basic processes, you can breathe in, you can hold the breath, you can breathe out, and you can hold out the breath. These are the four basic processes of the breath. All of them can be utilized in different pranayama techniques. But it is not for lung exercise. It is not a breathing exercise. We often again translate pranayama as breathing exercise. It is not breathing exercise at all. Because in breathing exercise, you are only looking at lung function. You are looking at elasticity of the lung. You are looking at tidal volume. You are looking at volume capacities. But in pranayama, you are looking at something even more. What is that even more? You want to understand what prana is, because prana is Brahman. This is so well given in our scriptures, that if you want to understand prana, prana is subtle. Prana is not just subtle, very subtle. You cannot see it. See, even in your home, you will have electricity. Do you see electricity? We don't see electricity. But we can understand the effect of presence and absence of electricity. Electricity is there, this light is on, you can see me. Electricity is not there, the light is off, you cannot see me. Then I say, oh, current has gone. There is an electricity cut. Because I am perceiving, it is called anumana. In our yogic scriptures, it is said that you can have the information through three ways. Pratyaksha, Anumana, Agama, Pramanani. Pramana, which is understanding the cognitive process through Pratyaksha, direct perception. Second is Anumana, by inference. So we know that electricity is on or off by inference. And then of course you have Agama. You ask somebody, like if I ask you now, in Bangalore, is there electricity or not? And you tell me, I trust you, it becomes Agama. Okay. Pratyaksha is, I know there's electricity here because I'm perceiving the light, Anumana. So there's no Pratyaksha. The only time you have Pratyaksha is if you put your finger in the electrical socket and you will have an electrical shock, and then you have Pratyaksha. You know the presence of electricity because you have had a shock. But even then, it is not really Pratyaksha, still Anumana. Because you had a shock, you know there is electricity. So the Pratyaksha component is very minimal. Now, if that is for electricity, imagine for prana, that is million times more subtle than electricity. That is why pranayama is enhancing our capacity to experience what prana is. That prana can be experienced through the breath. Because the breath, which is related to the wind, vayu, is the physical manifestation of the prana. So the physical manifestation of the prana is the vayu, and vayu is also the physical manifestation of Brahman itself. Our Vedic literature tells us this again and again. Om Shanno Mitra Shan Varunaha Shanno Bhavatvaryama Shanna Indro Brihaspatihi Shanno Vishnu Rukramaha Namo Brahmane Namaste Vayu Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmasi Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahma Vadishyami Hridam Vadishyami Satyam Vadishyami Tanmam Avatu Tat Bhaktaram Avatu Avatu Mam Avatu Bhaktaram. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. In that it is clearly given. Namaste Brahmane. Namaste Vayu. Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmasi. I have understood you are the manifestation of Brahma. Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahma Vadishyami. I'm going to go and spread this word. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to let others know. Hridam Vadishyami, in tune with the cosmic Hridagum Satyam Param Brahma. That is the truth, the Ritu that I'm going to express from the heart. Hridagum Satyam, I'm going to say, Satyam Vadishyami. So when we are performing pranayama, it is not a breathing exercise. We are utilizing the breath as the vehicle for understanding the pranic flow in order to enhance our experience of what prana truly is. All of this is happening in pranayama. And no wonder you can imagine why I get so agitated when people call pranayama breathing exercise. When they call asana physical exercise, you can imagine why I get agitated. People say, why is Dr. Ananda so angry? I am like, you are ill-treating my mother. Yoga is my mother. You are ill-treating my mother. You are abusing my mother. You think I'll keep quiet? I cannot keep quiet if you abuse my mother and ill-treat her. Same with yoga. Yoga is my mother. It is not a breathing exercise. It is not a physical exercise. Because it is more about what is happening inside. It is an antara yatra, not a bahira yatra. It is an internal journey. Yoga is all about the internal journey. Inward, forward, upward. Inward, forward, upward. That is the journey happening. And so what is happening? The yogis, these great scientists, today we talk about scientific validation of yoga. What we are doing in scientific validation is peanuts. What we are doing is peanuts. The real validation was our rishis. They were the mantra drishtas. They had the perception that was in tune with the cosmos to such an extent they understood the essence, that is Tattvamasi, Aham Brahmasmi. They understood the importance of Prajnanam Brahmam. And they taught us Shivoham, 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 Soham, Satchitananda Swarupoham, Shivoham, 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 Soham, Satchitananda Swarupoham. They understood the essence. They said, I want all of you to have it. They said, it is not enough if I know it. Everybody should know it. How can I give it to people? Here is the path of yoga. Here are the techniques. The techniques, the yoga angas were given to us, codified by Maharishi Patanjali. Again, so many people, Patanjali is the father of yoga. This is as bad as saying Gandhi is the father of India. Seriously, we really get things confused. Gandhiji was one of the great sons of Mother India. Finished, full stop. This whole idea of father of a nation, father of yoga, often you find it on the internet. The father of yoga is Patanjali. I'm like, seriously. Long before Patanjali, even Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says Yoga Shastra is Puradana. He says it is timeless and ancient even in Krishna's time. And that is at least 5,000, 6,000 years ago we are talking about. Patanjali is about 2,000, 2,500 years ago we are talking about. Tomorrow somebody will say, so-and-so is the father of yoga, and they will give some new name of all the great Mahapubhas in yoga today. No. Patanjali codified the yoga darshana. He gave us a systematic structure by saying there are all these angas. And what is the purpose of the anga? Not to reduce your BP, not to reduce your blood sugar, not to help stretch your gastrocnemius and hamstrings. Yoganga anushtanat ashuddhi kshaye jnana deepti viveka kyate. He has given very clear definition of what is the purpose. The statement of purpose, the mission, vision statement has been given by Maharishi Patanjali. He says the yoga angas are there to remove the ashuddhi, all the mala shuddhi, nadi shuddhi, prana shuddhi, mana shuddhi, atma shuddhi, deha shuddhi, sharira shuddhi, every shuddhi you can think of. Ashuddhi kshaye, so that the inner light, jnana deepti, will be there, so that you can start to see your journey inward. Remember, inward journey, you need the light bulb on inside. If it is dark inside, you don't know where to go. Jnana deepti has to come on so you can go in. And you have to have discernment. What is real, what is unreal? What is the truth, what is the falsehood? So that you can go from asatoma, sadgamaya, tamasoma, jyotirgamaya, mrityarma, amritangamaya. You should know the difference. Because if you are confused, if you are filled with avidya, you will confuse everything. Anitya you will think is nitya. Asuchi you will think is suchi. Dukkha you will think is sukha. And the anatma you will think is atma kyati. Anitya, asuchi, dukkha, anatmasu, nitya, suche, sukha, atmakyatir, avidya. And that is why jnana deepti has to come and viveka kyati has to be there. That is why yoga angas are there. Yama, niyama, asana, pranayama. That is why these angas are there. That is why pranayama is not a breathing exercise. Pranayama is there to enhance our understanding of what this prana is. To experience it, because yoga is a anubhuti shastra. It is an experiential traditional science. It is not just something you do. It is something that you have to experience. If I take this beautiful cup of herbal tea and say, enjoy it, you will say, Dr. Ananda, how can we enjoy it? Unless you give it to us. Now I can enjoy it. When I drink it, I can enjoy it because I have experienced what that herbal tea is like. Then I can share with you and you trust me, agama. that, okay, yes, Dr. Ananda said the herbal tea is tasting very good in Ananda Ashram. So when we come there, we'll ask for herbal tea. Anubhuti Shastra. Yoga is an experiential science that you have to experience. That is why no one can do it for you. No one can do yoga for you. You have to do yoga for yourself. And through the process of doing, you have to become yoga. Yoga has to become you. Yoga has to become your life. Every breath should be yoga. Then it becomes an Anubhuti Shastra. Anubhava has to be there. And that is why it is a first-hand experience. The experience of prana is a first-hand experience, not a second-hand experience. No amount of telling by Maharishi Patanjali, no amount of telling by Veda Vyasa, no amount of telling by Swatparama, no amount of telling by Tom, Dick and Harry. No. None of it will work until we experience it by performing pranayama sadhana. And this pranayama is not just a sadhana. Pranayama parayana, says the Bhagavad Gita. Pranayama parayana, by offering the prana into the apana and the apana into the prana. Imagine what type of scriptures we have. And we have left all of that, and someone calls it breathing exercise, and we also say, pranayama breathing exercise. And we'll teach some fast breathing, slow breathing, and we say, now you know pranayama. People will immediately start Nadi Shuddhi, Anulom Vilom. Because today, as you know, pranayama means Kapalbhati, Anulom Vilom. Brahmari, finished. That's all. Seriously. What a joke we have become. What a joke we have become. See, I'm happy people are at least doing that. But the moment you talk to somebody, I do pranayama, immediately you know the next thing will be Kapalbhati, Anulom Vilom, Brahmari. This is the formula that you will find. Seriously. People are not breathing, first of all. My beloved father, Swami Gitananda Giri, my guru, you can see them behind me, my father and mother, Ammaji and Swamaji. Swamaji used to say, if you are not breathing more than 60% of your lung capacity, you will not be able to experience prana. Most people are breathing 10% of their capacity. Now just think about it. If you go to your job and they give you 10% of your salary at the end of the month, will you be happy? If you are a teacher and your students come 10% of attendance to your classes, will you be happy? But we are so blissfully ignorant and happy, breathing 10% of our capacity. That is why COVID has exposed the human being as someone who is not breathing properly. COVID has exposed us that we are shallow breathers. We are not deep breathers. It has shown that we are only breathing enough to survive. We are not breathing enough to have a life. And this is why it is so important that we are maximizing the capacity to breathe first. In our tradition, when we work on pranayama, we work on using each and every part of the lung properly. The lower part of the lung, the middle part of the lung, the upper part of the lung, the front, the side, the back of the lung. So that a three-dimensional experience of prana is felt through the vibhaga. Then you start, once you have that foundation, then you can do Nadi Shuddhi, Anulom, Vilom, Kapalbhati, Bhastrika, whatever you want after that. But if you are not breathing and you are doing this, there's no prana moving. If no prana is moving, which Nadi is going to get cleaned? I say for most people, pranayama is a finger-nose exercise. Most people, pranayama is a finger-nose exercise today because they're not breathing. First class, the person sits down, we are all going to do Anulom Vilom Nadi Shuddhi. Baba, they are not breathing first. First person has to breathe. If you are not breathing, what are you moving? Pehla to breathe karna chahiye aise. You have to understand what is the process of breathing. When you start to breathe more than 60% of your capacity, now you have fulfilled your survival need. Abraham Maslow, he says your first hierarchy of needs are there. Food, shelter, safety. When all of that is fulfilled, then the self-actualization will occur. You have to first fulfill the need of your body cells. You have to fulfill the need of your body, tissues, the organs. And then once that is fulfilled, you will have the capacity now to start working on the higher consciousness. If the basic needs are not fulfilled by your breathing, how are you going to experience prana? You need surplus money in your bank to start to do something new. If you only have enough in your bank to survive, you will not be able to do anything new. You are just getting your salary, spending, getting your salary, spending. Nothing new is happening. You have to have surplus funds to do something new for expansion of prana, for enhancement of pranic experience. You need to be breathing at least 60% of your capacity. Then something can start to move. Then something can start to be experienced. And that is why we start to realize that step by step, this has to be built. It doesn't happen just like that. Step by step, pade pade, step by step, step by step. Yoga pade pade, my father would say. It has to go step by step. And step by step, you build your building. Foundation should be strong. And before pranayama, don't forget, yama niyama should be part of your life. There has to be sthirata and sukhata of asana. Tasmin sati. When that sthirata and sukhata is there in you, then you can start to work on prana. But people say, I want to do pranayama because I heard it's good for lung function. Baba, you cannot sit even. How you are going to do pranayama? Nah, I heard it is easy. Okay, pranayama is not possible. I'll do straight meditation. I'm like, you cannot sit 5 minutes without fiddling around. You cannot breathe properly. And you think you are going to do meditation. God help you. Finding a black cat in a dark room where there's no cat in the first place. That is how bad that situation is today. Direct meditation. Easy hai. And this is usually all the top people in all organizations. They will come, Dr. Ananda, teach me 5 minutes meditation. I'm very busy. I'm like, Baba, first of all, can you sit still? If you cannot sit still, how your mind will get still? If you cannot breathe, how will your mind get still? Because chale vate chale chittam, it is said. How the breath moves, similarly the mind will move. Nischale nischalam bhava. It is so important. If you cannot control the breath, the mind will not be controlled. And this is why the practice of pranayama is a prerequisite for the antara aspects. All the antara aspects, starting with dharana. All the antaranga aspects based on pranayama. Dharana sucha yogyata manasaha, says Maharishi Patanjali. Through pranayama, your mind attains fitness for dharana, not even dhyana. People want to directly go to dhyana. Why directly? Let's go to samadhi straight. We have abused the word meditation. It has become an abusive word. Because people think sitting quietly with your eyes closed is meditation. Sitting quietly with your eyes closed is sitting quietly with your eyes closed. That's all, full stop. It is good for you. Better than going and doing all the nonsense you are doing, so it is good for you. But immediately it becomes meditation. Dhyana is such a deep state. For dhyana to occur, dharana has to be there. For dharana to occur, pranayama sadhana is the foundation. For pranayama sadhana, the asana sadhana is a foundation. For asana sadhana, first of all, you should be living yama niyama. But we all want shortcut to heaven at any cost. Do the first things first is what my father used to say. If you do the first things first, the last things will do themselves. But we don't want to do the first things, we want the last things. In the pranayama sadhana, every time we are breathing in and breathing out, we are connecting to the universe. Because this mahaprana of the universe, that mahaprana of the universe, when we breathe in, when we perform the puraka. So puraka is not just breathing in, it is when the prana is flowing on the inhalation. See, again we translate, we say puraka is inhalation. No. Puraka is when you are experiencing the prana coming in through the inhalation. Simple inhalation is not puraka. When your mind is there, because yato mana tata prana. Where the mind goes, the prana will flow. So when your mindfulness is there and you're experiencing, as you breathe in, you're experiencing the prana come in, it becomes puraka. When you're breathing out and experiencing the flow of the prana going out, it is rechaka. When you're holding the breath in and experiencing the prana inside you, at that point it is antara kumbhaka or kumbhaka. And when you have breathed out and you're experiencing that state where you have given up the prana to the universe, at that point you experience the bahya kumbhaka. In our tradition we call it shunyaka, because shunya, the vacuum state, is experienced. Puraka, kumbhaka, rechaka, shunyaka is how we normally term it. When you are doing puraka, what is happening? The universal prana is coming into you. The universal prana is becoming you. What a beautiful concept. The universe is becoming the individual. When you perform antara kumbhaka, you are experiencing the universe in you. Imagine that beautiful experience of kumbhaka. That is why kumbhaka is given great importance in our tradition. They always gave emphasis on kumbhaka, because that is the time where the divine universal prana is in you. You are like a pot holding that amazing prana, kumbha. That is why the Hatha Pradipika calls it kumbha, ashta kumbhaka. They don't call it pranayama. We say they are pranayama. They call it kumbhaka because these are the practices where you can experience the divine, universal, unlimited prana in you. Now you have experienced the prana of the universe becoming the individual. You have experienced the universe in you. And now you breathe out. And now your individual prana is being exchanged with the universe. What a beautiful experience. You are exchanging your energy with the universe. And when you hold the breath out, you are experiencing yourself in the universe. You're not losing anything. I like to give the example of potential energy, kinetic energy for this. See, in physics, if I had a pendulum, the pendulum goes from one end to the other, that bob, okay? At this end, it is potential energy. At this end, it is potential energy. When it moves from here to here, it is kinetic energy. Here to here, kinetic. Kinesis means movement. Okay? So the kinetic aspects of pranayama are the puraka and the rechaka. Puraka and rechaka are the kinetic aspects of pranayama. Kumbhaka and shunyaka are the potential aspects of pranayama. So you think of those, the bob at two ends, antara kumbhaka, bahya kumbhaka. So from here, puraka, antara kumbhaka, rechaka, bahya kumbhaka. Puraka, antara kumbhaka, rechaka, bahya kumbhaka. I hope you're getting this flow. The potential energy of the universe is coming into the individual in puraka. In the individual in antara kumbhaka, the energy in the individual is the energy of the universe. The energy of the universe stored in a potential form in the individual is kumbhaka. Individual energy becoming universal is rechaka. And now the individual energy stored in the universe as potential is shunyaka. And all this is happening. We are experiencing the universe becoming us and us becoming the universe. The universe becoming us becoming the universe. And here we experience ourselves in the universe, and here we experience the universe in us. The drop coming out of the ocean, the drop going back into the ocean. The drop coming out of the ocean becoming a drop is puraka. Now in that drop is the ocean, potentially, the kumbhaka. Now the drop again becomes the ocean, rechaka. Now that drop is in the ocean, shunyaka. This is the experience that every breath. So breathing out, you are not losing anything. You are gaining what it means for the drop to become the ocean. Imagine what a beautiful experience the shunyaka can be. The Bahya Kumbhaka is an experience of where you are in the whole universe. Antara Kumbhaka is an experience of what it feels like to have the whole universe in you. It is like your Vishwarupa Darshana that Arjuna had of Mahavishnu on Kurukshetra. That is why the power of the Kumbhaka, you have that Vishwarupa Darshana is there. And when you breathe out and hold out, it is a lesson in humility. You realize how you, the drop, has become the ocean. What a beautiful, that is why breathing out and holding out is a lesson in Atman Pranidhana, Ishvara Pranidhana. Rechaka and Bahya Kumbhaka, Shunyaka is a physical manifestation of Ishvara Pranidhana. All of these concepts are found. Now, even after this, if you want to call pranayama breathing exercise, I will have no choice but to move from ahimsa to himsa and punch you in the nose. Can you imagine? What intricate energy. This is pure physics. Our rishis understood the laws of physics because the laws of physics and the laws of metaphysics are no different. Maharishi Patanjali in his Vibhuti Pada, so many sutras are pure physics. Physics, metaphysics, astrophysics, quantum physics, they are all in the Vibhuti Pada. He talks about how the light, which is coming from, the light is hitting the object and you are seeing the object. If you can prevent the light from meeting the eye, you become invisible. Pure physics. Pure physics he talks about. So many examples. When we are doing the pranayama sadhana, it is not just to breathe in and breathe out. And that is why in the pranayama sadhana, we go through Arambha Avastha, the beginning stages. One of my friends used to say, this is Arambha is very jolly. Hey, I'm feeling very good. I'm doing Kapalbhati, Anulom Vilom and Nadi Shuddhi and Brahmari, and wow, it's so good, so good, so good. Arambha Avastha, it's like Ramba is dancing for you. That's what one of my friends used to say. Arambha Avastha is very good. Then comes the Gata Avastha. Gata Avastha becomes a bit tough. Because what happens is that you are being beaten by like a Gatam. And you are getting from all sides. You know, when the potter is making the pot, they have to hit it. Gata Avastha. You are baking the pot. That is why it's called Gatastha Yoga. Baking the pot so that we are fit to be the receptacle for the whole universal divine. We have to be fit for it. Yogyata has to be there. Then after that comes the Parichaya Avastha. You are tested. Are you worthy for the goal or not? Have you the proper credits? Is your attendance there? Do you know the basics? You must know, desirable to know. All that in educational policy, all of that is tested in Parichaya Avastha. And the universe is a very unbiased, objective examiner when it comes to Parichaya Avastha. Darwin called it survival of the fittest. Something like that, Parichaya Avastha is there. And then you come into Nishpati Avastha, where that final realization and you understand what prana is. Prana becomes a reality for you. Till that time, prana may not have been a reality. You are trying to experience prana. You are making the effort. You are doing your sadhana. But in Nishpati Avastha, you understand what prana is. And that is why that pranayama sadhana has to go step by step. Arambha Avastha, Gatastha, Gata Avastha, Parichaya Avastha and Nishpati Avastha. And we have to understand every time we do a Puraka, it is an opportunity to experience the universe coming in. Every time we hold, the universe is held in us. Every time we breathe up, breathe out, the individuality being given up into the universe. And every time we hold out, we are experiencing ourselves in the universe. What is our context? What is our context in the universal plan, in the master plan of the universe? This is how the pranayama sadhana is there. And through this pranayama sadhana, We are enhancing constantly our experience of Prana Shakti. And as we grow in Prana Shakti, it will flow through us because we become worthy. We become worthy and it flows through us. And as the Prana flows through us, we move from being just a human doing to becoming a human being. We move from the subhuman nature to the human. We grow into the humane and we start to manifest our divine nature also. This is the evolution that occurs as we start to grow in Prana. This is what I wanted to share with you today in this topic. And I think we have a few minutes for any questions that may be there, if they are relevant. And I hope I have been able to give you a perspective of Prana and its ayama from the yogic traditional perspective. Over to you now.
Namaste, Guruji.
Yes, Vaishali.
I am a student of yoga, and sometimes there are so many terms that we get confused with all these terms. So you said that prana is Brahman. So can you tell me what is the meaning of consciousness, whether it is the same thing or it is different? Because it gets very confusing sometimes, these things.
Thank you for that question. You know, the concept of consciousness is very different in the modern psychological perspective and in the traditional Indian psychological perspective. Because the modern psychology says that if you can see me and I can see you, we are both conscious. That is the modern perspective. But yoga and the Indian cultural perspective is that consciousness is an attribute of the Brahman itself. So in Vedanta, it is called the Brahman. In Yoga and Sankhya, we call it Purusha. So the concept of Purusha as being pure consciousness, Brahman as being pure consciousness, that is entangled with Prakriti for the sake of Bhoga and the experience. So when we talk about consciousness here, we are talking of a universal consciousness. And then that universal consciousness is having an individual experience through us. So we are having a conscious experience, but as a limited individual, which is finite. As an individual, our experience is finite, but as we expand, we attempt to grow into the universal consciousness. And Kaivalya is the state where once again, we are back in universal consciousness. So I hope this has clarified a little bit about what consciousness is. We talk of pure consciousness as Purusha or Brahman, but it is having an individual experience.
Is it different from prana?
Prana, these are all synonyms. These are all synonyms. We say, see, Brahman, in many of our Indian scriptures, prana and Brahman are equated. So prana is also consciousness, but it is a consciousness that is creating an opportunity for life. Now, when you say prana, you're talking about life. So here the prana is when it can create life, sustain life, it becomes prana. Now again, consciousness is also life. So it is very difficult to say this is different and that is different. Ultimately, for me personally, prana, Brahman, consciousness, life, they all become one and the same at the highest level. At the lower level, there may be some subtle differences, but at the highest level, they are one and the same.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
So I have a question with respect to pranayama. What should be our journey then? Where should we start getting into this?
The first part of the journey, Gayatri, is that we need to learn how to breathe properly.
Okay.
So the first aspect is learning that we have different parts of the lungs, low, mid, and upper, Adama, Madhyama, Adhyama. Understanding we have front, side, and back of that, which means there are 9 vibhaga in each. Learning to mindfully breathe into these parts of the lung so that we are preparing a foundation on which then the different techniques can be done. Be it Nadi Shuddhi, be it Anulom Vilom, be it Brahmari, all of that is built on the foundation. So the first aspect is to learn to breathe mindfully into the different parts of the lungs, understand what it is to have the breath flow in and out of us. Because when that mind and the breath are yoked together, that mana and prana, they start to work together, then it starts to become pranayama. So then after that, the sadhana will continue, but the foundation has to be there. Because otherwise it is like trying to teach nuclear physics to a kindergarten kid. You know,
absolutely. I totally agree. Yes.
When we have gone through schooling and we have gone into, you know, college and university, then we'll be ready for nuclear physics. But we have to go through the step by step. But everybody wants to directly become a nuclear physicist because they think that yoga is nothing. They think that pranayama is breathing exercise, kuch bhi karo. See, we have degraded our traditions. We have been responsible for the degradation of our traditions. We have to respect them. And this is not being a nationalist. This is not being a fanatic. No. This is someone who says we have to respect our traditions, because if we as Indians respect it, the world will respect our traditions.
Yes. I believe if we don't go in that, yeah, I do believe in that, because if the journey is not proper, then we will not attain the target. I feel that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you very much for the answer.
Already, any other questions? And I just wanted to add that Dr. Ananda is doing phenomenal job in sharing a lot of these aspects related to not just pranayama, in general, about all the aspects of yoga. And he just openly sharing it so beautifully. If you just follow him on his YouTube channel or his Facebook page, right, you can just find almost every week he is coming up with new content and new concepts he's trying to explain more clearly. So, and I really request all of you to make the best benefit of it, at least particularly during COVID times, right, where everybody was sitting at home and pretty much doing nothing. And there was so much of content that Dr. Ananda was sharing with everyone. Okay, and it was so that everybody could understand these concepts more clearly. There's thousands of videos there. Okay, you can just probably request everybody to go spend some time on all these videos at your leisure time, just to understand all these concepts in more detail. Because whatever today is probably given is a very high level overview as a beginner for all of us to get into the practice of pranayama itself. But there are a lot of deeper concepts that he has already shared with in his videos. So please go and spend some time on all these concepts. Try to understand these concepts.
No, I think the motto for me is always caring is sharing, and we need to care and we need to share. That is the way humanity can grow. And during the last 2 years, during the COVID pandemic, I think the opportunity to share online with so many people has been a godsend for me. And this is why we had 108 days of Vishwa Yoga Pratana, 108 days of non-stop sharing. And then that became my scintillating Saturdays, where every Saturday I've been sharing, and now it's 87 weeks with today. 87 weeks of non-stop sharing. I hope it will at least go to 108 weeks. And building on topics, because there's so much of confusion. And we need to move from that state of confusion to fusion. So confusion is not bad, because confusion means at least we have got moving. But we have to move from confusion to fusion. One of my mentors, Dr. John Mumford, Swami Ananda Kapila, used to say, confusion precedes fusion. And I think it is a good motto that we have to move from one to the other. We don't stay in confusion. I think the problem is if we stay in confusion, then we have to blame ourselves. But confusion to fusion is such an important growth. And, the work that Vinay is doing and, you're doing through the Yoga Vijnana and others, I think this is very important, that the message of yoga in its traditional context is taken to people. Because yoga out of context is not yoga. People ask me, how do you define misappropriation? I say, yoga out of context is misappropriation. As long as yoga is in context, it is cultural respect, cultural appreciation. So yoga in its cultural context, in the context of Sanatana Dharma, it is very important, because otherwise we'll have the body but not the soul. And with the body, you can only do Jada yoga.
And nowadays, unfortunately, that is what people think it as yoga now.
Jada yoga has become yoga.
Has become yoga. All right. So,
yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Vinay, can I ask?
Yeah, please go ahead, please.
Yeah,
Yes.
so we understand it's an experience journey. So all these years we've been living, not understanding if I'm doing the foundation or basics right. What is that I would have missed, or what is the difference itself, knowing this and doing it right and not being aware of it at all?
You see, it is basically like learning music. There are many people who sing without learning the basics of music. Some of them sing well, some of them don't sing well, and some of them are bathroom singers. So I think if you learn the basics of music, you have the structure, the framework, and then through the structure, you can then start to grow into the freedom of creativity. So I think what is missed is that we will be benefiting, no doubt. The greatness of yoga is that even people who are doing it wrong still benefit. That is the greatness of yoga, but then it's also the weakness of yoga, because then we don't know if we are doing it right or wrong. So I think you're not going to harm yourself unless you really do something stupid. And with pranayama, I know of people who have done something very, very stupid and harmed themselves. For example, people trying to do 16:64:32 ratio by reading a book without doing any sadhana. Directly they have tried and they have blown their mental fuse. So I've seen that as a doctor. I've seen those type of issues. But other than that, the safety mechanisms of yoga are inbuilt. So I think even if you have not done the foundation, you would have got some benefit. But if now you go back and look at the foundation, I think what you will end up with is a much bigger perspective. It is like, me trying to get to Bangalore without a map. I will get to Bangalore one day, someday. But if I have a map, I'll get there more efficiently. And if I have somebody who knows Bangalore, they will make sure I get right where I need to be with the minimal time spent and minimal energy lost. So, I may have been to Bangalore without a map before, but now if I can find someone who has a map and knows how to go there, I can start to make my journey more efficient. I can start to become more productive, and all around my life quality will be enhanced. So there's nothing lost. By going back to the basics, we can again have a new experience, and it may take us into a new level. Lord Krishna tells us in the Bhagavad Gita, the yogi who didn't make it last time, I will put them in a family where they'll be given an opportunity to go through the process. So our sadhana will never be lost. Oh my God, for 6 years I've been doing without knowing how to do. No problem. That sadhana will be also there. Now when you start to do it with awareness, mindfulness and consciousness, suddenly presto, the benefits will start to be much better. So nothing is ever lost. Nothing is ever lost. It will always be part of us. And now when we make it mindful, it will become greater.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that perspective.
There is one more question on the YouTube channel. So they're asking, in the regular yoga classes, people ask to direct prana to the injured or some areas which is not functioning properly. So does it really work, directing the prana into those?
Definitely yes. Definitely yes. Because yato mana tata prana. Where you put your mind, there the prana will flow. Now, it is very important when you are doing this to focus on the prana flowing into that damaged part. So there's a part of your body you want to be healed. You are mindfully breathing and letting your mind focus the prana, the warm, golden, healing prana into that body part. But it is important to focus on the prana. Now, what most people do is they are focusing on the pain. They are focusing on the defect. They are saying, my knee is paining, 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 paining. So their japa has become pain, pain, pain. Now you empower that japa of pain, pain, pain with prana, you have more pain. So it is very important that when you are focusing the prana, focus on healing. Focus on healing prana, not the pain. So it is sort of a pratipaksha bhavanam. You have to use the contrary attitude here. If a body part is having a defect, don't keep on saying, oh, the defect, defect, defect. The defect will become stronger. You say, I want to send the prana. I am trying to visualize the prana that I breathe moving into that body part. And as it moves into that, enhancing the healing in that part, the swast, the arogya, the prana, then it becomes what we call kushala kriya. Kushala kriya is where the kushalam, which is basically healing, is being facilitated into a body part by the mindful focus of prana. But be very careful, you don't strengthen the negativity of pain and suffering. My leg is paining, my leg is paining, it will never stop paining. May my leg heal, may my leg heal, may my leg heal, may my body heal, may my heart heal, may my mind heal, may our society heal, may our humanity heal. Then you are focusing on healing. And when you focus on healing, healing will manifest. So what do you choose to focus on? That will be empowered.
All right. So any other things?
The mind is like a laser beam. The mind is like a laser beam. Never forget that. The laser beam can take a life and it can also save a life.
Very true. Very true. All right. Any other questions? Because it's just a blissful opportunity for us to ask Dr. Ananda and clarify all our questions. Because yes, please go ahead. Please.
Doctor, I have I feel that those 7 chakras. So we have this 7 sapta sargam, no? Sare, Gama, Pada, Ni. So do you think these Sare, Gama, Pada, Ni are related to 7 chakras?
They are related. They are, of course, related. And they are not only related to the 7 chakras, they are related to the Sapta Dhatu, they are related to the Sapta Loka. All of these connections are there. But what happens is when people sing it, the mind has to be accordingly visualized. Sa, re, ga, ma, pa, da, ni. And then when you are ready, sang, where you go beyond it all. That flow has to be there. But most people, they are singing up here. Especially this modern music. That has nothing to do. It is totally out of the head, out of the world. See, you have to be in that place. Sa has to be in Sa. That what we call that sthanam has to be there. Swara sthanam has to be there. Sa has to be in Sa, not in Ma. Ma has to be in Ma, not in Pa. Each has a place. And when the music, this is why our Indian music, based on the Sapta Swara, it is healing. That is why it is spiritual music. It is not just for pleasing the ear. It is not just for a party to dance. It is for the soul. The spiritual music of India is for the soul. And that is why when Tyagaraja sings, Shobillu Sapta Swara, he says, Nabi Kantarasana. From the Nabi it starts, comes to the heart, comes to the throat, comes to the tongue and the nose. The 5-pronged approach of the music. Nabi Kantarasana. ಕಂಠರಸಣ್ಣ ಸಾಧೂಲ ಎಂತೋ ಸೋವಿಲ್ಲು ಸಗತಗ ಸ್ವಸುಂದರುಳಂ ಭಜಂಬವೇ ಮನಸ ಸೋವಿಲ್ಲು ಸಪ್ತ ಸ್ವರ. All of it is part of our basic physical, emotional, mental, social, spiritual, and nowadays financial makeup also. It's all there.
So nice, so nice. Thank you so much.
Right, one last question. Yeah, please, last question.
Yeah. You told one thing wonderfully, that we all are breathing to survive, but we are not breathing to live life. I wanted to see, I'm so new to yoga. I wanted to know the difference between this. And also, I think, I don't know, this might be a very stupid question. The practicing pranayama leads to the breathing, to live life. Okay. But we are breathing every second, and we are breathing every second, but we are going to practice pranayama for once a day, 1 hour a day, or twice, 2 hours a day, like that. But so can we practicing pranayama, it may lead to breathing to live life?
Okay. First of all, I would just like to say that there is nothing called a stupid question. There may be there are stupid answers, but no stupid questions. Okay. Because every question is a desire to know, and the desire to know can never be stupid. Okay. So this is just one first part that I wanted to say. Now, when we are normally breathing, our brain stem, which is in the back of the brain, it is regulating our breathing. So we are breathing in, breathing out unconsciously, involuntarily. And most people will not think of the breathing the whole day unless they have a breathing disorder. So it is something that is happening automatically. And that is why normal breathing is survival, because survival is your brain stem. Your brain stem is in charge of breathing, circulation, and your food digestion. All the basic survival is in your brain stem. That is why if the brain stem is damaged, we call the person brain dead. So when we say brain dead, it means your brain stem has got damaged. Now, the brain stem is normally it is only concerned about you staying alive. So it will give enough breathing in and breathing out for you to survive. When you do pranayama, you are changing your pattern of breathing from brain stem, automatic, unconscious, to cortical. That is the total upper part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex. You are choosing how deep you will breathe, how long you will breathe, what type of count you will breathe, Desha, Kala, Sankhya, all this is being brought into it. And you choose whether you want to breathe right nostril, left nostril, both nostril, whether you want to make sound or not. All the choices from your cortex. So you are moving from survival mode, which is back here, to living mode, which is here. The living mode is the power of choice. I am choosing how I will breathe so that I can choose how I will live. So instead of being driven by survival instinct, which is old animal part of us, we are moving into the human, humane, and divine aspect where life has purpose. And we start to fulfill dharmartha kama mokshanam chaturvidha purushartham through this. Now the second part of your question, the whole day we are breathing, but we are doing pranayama only once or twice a day. Well, you learn cycling. When you learn cycling, it doesn't mean you have to learn 24 hours cycling. You learn cycling a little bit, a few hours, but then that learned cycling becomes part of your whole nature, that whenever you need to cycle, you can cycle without having to worry about it. Same thing when you do the pranayama, you have created a learned response like cycling. And when you learn like that, it becomes part of your 24-hour breathing also. So it is not that the rest of the day you will breathe differently. The pranayama sadhana you do will influence the way you breathe the rest of the 24 hours also. So it will change the whole pattern of breathing, the focus of breathing, the methodology of breathing, because suddenly you have become mindful. The mind has put a spotlight onto something which was in the dark. And once the light comes on, don't worry, it will only become brighter.
Thank you very much. I'm so satisfied with your answer. Thank you.
Okay. I think you're muted there, I think.
Oh, sorry, I didn't notice that. So there is a question on the chat saying, how do you connect with you to learn pranayama from you? And there is also another question on YouTube saying that how much time is good enough for pranayama?
Well, 24 hours. Okay. People ask me, how much time do you do your yoga sadhana? I say 24 hours. Because yoga is life. Pranayama is life. Prana is life. Now you may do 45 minutes, 1 hour per day. That's a different aspect. But every moment of your life is your sadhana. Your sadhana is not diverse from your life. So, we have to look at our physical constraints. We have to look at time constraints. But then as you start to work on it, it becomes, every moment becomes your sadhana. So you grow in it. If you just type Bhavanani and yoga, you will find me all over the net. Because there are a few Bhavananis on this planet, but none of the Bhavananis are in yoga. So they are either into hairstyling, Swapna Bhavanani, or other business activities and writing, but no Bhavanani is into yoga. They're usually into business. So, if you find Bhavanani and yoga, you will get me on Facebook, YouTube, and you'll find a lot of stuff shared there. I think Ashwath, there's a question. I saw the hand go up.
My name is Priya.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, I really it was very inspired by this lecture. I actually wanted to learn more, but I got the answer. You mentioned where to look for resources, but I do have one question, Ji, if you don't mind. I attended a workshop on pranic healing by Master Chokoksui. There are centers, and as I was once healed by a practitioner, and I felt the benefit also, and which is why I attended the workshop to learn it myself. But they talk about the healer actually directing the prana to the patient's body or to the part. But in your lecture, I came to understand that it is a self-practice. Swayam practice is what you mentioned. But is it possible to direct one person's prana energy to another?
Absolutely. See, the human mind is capable of anything. The human mind has infinite possibilities. Now the thing is, you doing it for yourself is much easier than you doing it for somebody else. Because when you do it for somebody else, not only are you trying to heal them, you are becoming part of their karma shaya. So that karma is going to be part of you. And most people don't realize it, that they want to heal somebody, and in the process of healing, they are taking on the karma, most of the time not knowing what they're getting into. And people then suffer what we call wounded healer syndrome. So it is true, you can direct the prana to help other people. There's no doubt about it. But what I must say here is very few people in pranic healing are actually legitimate. There are a lot of quacks. There's a lot of bogus, because it is something that you cannot evaluate. And hence, anybody can say, I'm a pranic healer until they get into trouble. It is like anybody can see that they are a yoga therapist and teacher these days until somebody dies. So the problem here is the science is valid. Pranic healing is valid. It is legitimate, but many people are misusing it for ego purposes, to swindle other people, and in the process are also unknowingly harming themselves by not knowing what they are doing. So you have to be very strong if you want to help somebody. If somebody is drowning in the water, I should know swimming to save them. If I don't know swimming and I also jump into the water, now you'll have two people dying instead of one person. So the same thing here, if you want to help somebody pranically, you have to have the strength of body, mind, and emotions, and constantly be doing your own sadhana. Otherwise, it is very difficult. Just to give you a humorous way, if somebody needs some money, you can transfer your money to their account. But to transfer money to their account, you should have some money in your account first. So keep your account balance good. Otherwise, the banks sometimes will take money out if there's insufficient balance also. Same thing with health, same thing with prana.
That actually brings me to my second question. Is it possible to do this practice? You said that this is an energy, some kind of an energy, which can be transferred by seers to other people, not for beginners. I understand that. But is it possible to store this energy inside oneself?
I don't think you can store, because, see, when we say store, we are like saying, I'm going to keep all my money in the bank forever. Now, what will happen if everybody kept the money in the bank? The world economy will fall. Because what is very important is, for economy of the world to survive, there has to be a flow of money constantly. Same way with the energy, there has to be an interactive flow of energy between all living beings, which is why you have the food cycle, which is why we have relationships, which is why we all breathe the same air, which is why we breathe out carbon dioxide and the trees give us oxygen, because there has to be a flow. If the tree says, no, I'm going to keep all my oxygen and not give you, you're not going to be able to live. If you say, I won't give out my carbon dioxide, the tree will not be able to live. So for me, I believe that we become a vehicle of the prana, and the cosmic prana is infinite, because energy can neither be created nor destroyed. Prana will never be created nor destroyed. It is ananta. It is anadi and ananta. It is, something that is nitya. It is eternal. But what we need to do is tap into it. Once you tap into it, it will flow through you. So you don't need to store it. My statement here is, I don't need to store it. It's like I don't have to store information in my head. If I can open up to the cosmos, the information will flow through me without me having to store it. So my understanding here is, you become a vehicle for the energy to flow through you, and whenever needed, it will flow as appropriate.
Understood. Thank you. That was actually very clear. Thank you.
All right. So I think we can go on for sure, and probably it will be even good for us to even listen to a concert of Dr. Anandaji also. It's such a wonderful singer. So, but time is valuable for all of us. So we have to put an end at one point for sure. So with this, I want to hand it over to Vidya to formally conclude the session from the Yoga Vidya Foundation. Over to you, Vidya.
Thanks.
You have to unmute.
Thanks, Bhanan. It was a wonderful session by Dr. Ananda Balayogi Bhavanani in understanding the importance and power of prana. And thank you, sir, for helping us in search of prana. You helped us today a lot in understanding prana and pranayama. Thank you that we understood that pranayama is much more than a breathing exercise, the myth that we all have today, and it is enhancing our experience of our prana. It was a beautiful thought that was given to us for pranayama. Thank you, sir. And we had a wonderful audience today, and thanks to our audience as well. We had a good questions and it helped us understand more on prana. Thanks to Yoga Vijnana Foundation, a non-profitable organization, for organizing this event today in helping us more on prana. Please donate to us generously for this organization so that we can organize this event, similar events like this in future. Also, a gentle reminder for the tomorrow's event that we have on Ashtanga Yoga concepts of asana and pranayama from neuroscience perspective by Mohan Raghavan. We hope to see you all tomorrow again at the same time. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Vidya. And nice to see, I believe, your son behind you, is it?
Yeah, it's my son.
Nice to see the young ones always. I love to see the young ones. I would just like to correct one statement you made. Because
Yes,
I believe in abundance. Not for profit or non-profit is fine. Non-profitable is not good. Okay, so the statement should be not for profit or non-profit, because non-profitable means that profit will never be there. See, profit is there in the sense of abundance. So I don't know how that word came, what was meant. Non-profitable, no, you should always be profitable, but you are not doing it for the sake of profit. That is the meaning here. So I just wanted to share that, because my blessing is of abundance, that all of you should be blessed with abundance at the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, social, financial, and every aspect of your life. May that abundance be blessing you always. Tadastu.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you for correction.
Thank you so much. See you all tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.